Hello, this is Gavin Patterson from Studio 1790, and in today's video we're going to talk about VCA faders in Cubase. So what's a VCA? So VCA, I've talked about it a little bit before in the compressor episode or video. So VCA is voltage controlled amplifier, and what it means basically is when you apply different tracks into the VCA fader, when you bring the VCA fader up and down, it affects the channels differently than a regular fader would do. So we'll just go into Cubase and I'll try and demonstrate it. So I've got a session here, lots of tracks open just now. I'm going to go into my mixer window. Here we go. So I'll just pick a few channels to send to a VCA. So as you can see, all the faders are darted about all over the place. Some of them are sent to different places. So we'll take these ones for example. That's all the drum mics, and those are all being sent in this session to this fader here. So if I bring this fader down, so it's at 0 just now, if I bring it down and I go back here, none of these faders change. So the actual audio are these ones in red. So I've discussed this before in a previous video. So these are the individual audio files for this drum kit, and those are being sent to these ones, the effects channels, and then that is getting sent here to drum master. This fader controls the overall volume of all these faders. A VCA is something different, and I'll show you what it is. So in Cubase, if you select all the channels you want to be sent to a VCA, select them all, right click, and then hold on, I'll get rid of this menu. Should be right. So okay, we've got a VCA track. We want to add VCA fader to selected channels. Click that. Here we go. So I need to add a VCA track for this to work. Add track. Oh, I didn't need to do that. It did it for me anyway. So here it's here. Let me just move it to the correct window so that you can actually see it. So that's VCA link. I'm going to put it next to, just underneath my drum so that you can see it easier. Okay, and there we go. So it's green. Now, is this link turned on? I think the link is turned off by default. Oh, it's not. Okay, here we go. So audio is not being sent to this VCA. This VCA controls, as you can see, all of these faders, but it keeps the volume ratio consistent, equal. So when I hit solo on that, nothing's being bussed to this VCA fader. Nothing is being bussed to it. All it is a controller for these faders. The audio is still going to the drum master here, but the VCA fader is just a way of turning the volume up and down at equal ratios across multiple tracks. So if I, for example, turn down this fader, it might not necessarily turn down everything the same. So if I bring this down, the snare drum or the kick drum might still be louder to listen to, because of maybe some compression or whatever, it's not going to turn everything down equally. It's not as accurate as this is. So you can see here, when I turn that down, the faders move at different rates. So the ones that are nearer the bottom, if you look here, actually, you can see why this is the case. So the distance between 0 here, if you look at my mouse, the distance between 0 and 6 and 0 and 5 is roughly the same. But the difference between 5 and 10 is smaller. And it's going down by 5, and then it goes to 20, then 30. And the distance is getting smaller. That means the lower the fader in this scale, the larger the difference is. Every time you move the fader down at this end, the bigger differences it makes. So if you look at the wee number down at the bottom here, I can get it down to -80, and I just have to move it like a pixel, and it's jumped 20 decibels. I move it another pixel, 50, and now I'm moving it quite substantially. So to get 20 decibels, say let's get from 30 to 10. See, that's a sizable jump from there to there is only 20. From 30 to 10. But down here, it's like minute. So the VCA accounts for that. The VCA makes sure that it's proportional. Whereas simply turning that up and down turns the overall volume up and down. And you might not necessarily want that. So it's handy as well, because if you're sending, for example, like I'm sending, there's all my sends to all my effects. Now I believe this is all set to pre-fade. Yes, it is. So when this wouldn't work in this case. So these are pre-fader sends, which means that, for example, on the snare, we've got a room send here. This snare room it's been sent to the snare room before the fader. So if I turn this fader all the way down, the reverb going to the room is still being sent. But if I change this to post fader, so it turns orange, if this fader is at 0 or at nothing, then it will not send it to the room track being here. That's my room track. So the reason why I like to have it pre-fader, that's blue in Cubase. I think you can change that actually, I'm not quite sure. The reason I like that is because I like the reverb to come before the fader. So that when I turn up the fader, say I want more snare drum, dry snare drum, I don't want more room snare drum, not necessarily. If I want that, I want to affect it here. That's why I do pre-fade. Sometimes I do post-fader. What that does in that case, if you have a VCA and these are all set to post-fader, when I turn all of them down, it also proportionally turns down all of the effect sends simultaneously. So that's pretty cool. You can also set up a VCA for your effects. So here's all my effects here. So we'll make another VCA. So you can, I think you can have as many as you want. So that's me made another one. That's link 2. Okay, here it is. It's put it next to the other one. So let me just move it. I'll move it back so you can see VCA link 2, and we'll put it underneath the effect sends so that it's nice and easy to see. Oh, and move along, and here we go. Same deal. So that controls the volume. Now, like I said, there's no audio being routed to this. See, there's no inserts tab. I can't add any plugins. Can't add any EQ because this is just a controller for this. Think of it like MIDI. So it's not actually doing anything. It doesn't actually make sound. It just makes other things do things like a controller. So you can use VCA faders for loads of different types of things in your mix. And it's an easy way of, say your drums are too hot, they're too loud, rather than going through every fader manually and, going down a little bit, down a little bit, down a little bit, down a little bit, and just go through all, it just takes forever. And it's annoying and it's not right, so just assign a VCA and just do it that way. Because turning down your master can be sketchy. You might not get an equally balanced sound all the way down the fader. You might, instruments in the drum kit might start to pop out that you don't want, and that's where the VCA comes in. So that was just a little short video on VCA faders and how you can use them in your own mix. If you have any questions about VCA faders or maybe what they're called in other DAWs, just leave a comment down below. And as always, if you liked the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And hit the notification bell if you want to receive updates on future episodes. Thanks for watching.